This morning, Wall Street is hoping to keep the rally going after yesterday's major milestone. The blue chip index crossed the 13,000 for the first time in nearly 4 years. It later closed just below that at 12,965. Now, the last time the Dow crossed 13,000 in May of 08, it was heading in the wrong direction. By the next year, it had bottomed out at 6,547. It has since doubled. So joining us to discuss the current state of the economy is Rick Newman, Chief Business Correspondent for U.S. News and World Report. Thanks for being with us.
Sure thing.
All right, so what got the Dow past the 13,000 point?
Well, clearly we got some good news, or better news, out of Europe anyway, with news that there's yet another Greek bailout that at least is going to push the gloom into the future, if you will. So it looks like Greece is not going to default anytime soon. There are still a few hurdles to get over with that, but that's a big barrier out of the way for at least the next few months and possibly for all of 2012. So people who had sort of been counting on one of these nightmare scenarios, a meltdown scenario in Europe, almost don't have to worry about that anymore. Other than that, we've been seeing some generally good economic news. The housing market is possibly going to bottom out sometime soon, maybe in that process right now. The job market is improving a little bit. We still have a lot of problems in the economy, and I think some investors are scratching their heads wondering if the stock market is getting ahead of where the overall economy is. But for now, it's a pretty good ride.
Yeah, so I want to get back to that. So does that mean that we've turned that corner, worries of a double dip recession completely over, or we're not really out of the woods just yet?
Those worries are not completely over, but they are receding. So the odds of a double dip recession are perhaps 1 in 4 is what economists might tell you. Those odds have been going down. Maybe last summer economists might have said they were 1 in 2.
Okay.
So yes, things are definitely getting better. And the longer we sort of get through this very slow recovery, the more distance we get from the recession, you know, the economy is healing through all of this. It's healing very slowly, but the financial markets are healing, credit markets are healing, consumers are paying down debt. So it's almost as if the more time passes with nothing bad happening is good news.
But at the same time, not all of it is good news. Oil prices are on the rise. It's over $100 a barrel again. We're seeing gas prices possibly hitting $4.25 this summer. Yeah. How's that going to affect everything?
You really only have to glance left or right to find evidence of what could still go wrong. There's plenty that could still go wrong. There's a real problem with Iran, and the United States and Europe is now ratcheting up the pressure to do something about that nuclear weapons program in Iran. If that turns into some kind of shooting war, that for sure will send oil prices skyrocketing, at least for a little while. So we've seen forecasts of oil prices which are now about $104, let's say, going up to $150 or $200. That means gas prices at that levels would probably go over $5, perhaps over $6. If that happens, I don't think that's going to last for a long time, because this would probably be a pretty quick war. And this could unfold in many different ways, but that's a big fear. So these shocks, you know, there still is the risk that one of these shocks could happen overseas and come straight back and harm the U.S. economy.
Yeah, but that hasn't happened just yet. So what accounts for this spike in oil and possibly gas by the time we see summer?
Well, there is a boycott on Iran that's going to go into effect soon. Traders presume that Iranian oil will be coming off the market, and to some extent that's already happening. That's a lot of oil. Iran is a major oil supplier, so that means there is effectively a shortage of oil. Now, other oil producers like Saudi Arabia and other countries say, look, we'll be able to make up the difference. I'm not so sure that that's exactly right. And it just happens to be very strong demand for oil, especially in the developing markets like China, India, and other countries like that. The demand for oil is just going to keep going up. So over time, most analysts think we are going just to see gradual increases in the price of oil, and that's just from normal dynamics of supply and demand without any shocks like we're talking about.
What does that do to all the gains that we've made?
Well, if gas prices go back over $4 and they go higher than that, that's basically like a tax. It's like an unanticipated tax. It means people have to spend more on gasoline and on energy in general. And they don't get any more for that. You're paying more money for the same stuff. It means you have less money to spend on other things. Sure. So that could have a recessionary effect, not necessarily cause another recession unless gas prices get really high.
You said the R word,
yeah, well, it's always a risk.
Yeah.
But it will just sort of depress spending, and it means we're just going to have a slower growing economy, which is frankly what we've had for the last, since the recession ended in 2009.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. Rick Newman, we appreciate your insight. Thanks for being with us.
Sure, thanks for having me.